The galaxy had always been vast, endless, and mysterious. But it had one common belief that every species shared Earth was insignificant. The blue planet, orbiting a small average star on the edge of a quiet spiral arm, was considered a backwater world. Its people were primitive, weak, and unworthy of serious attention. Alien fleets passed by without a second glance, and their leaders spoke of Earth with casual amusement, as if discussing a forgotten dust mote drifting in the endless darkness of space. It was an unspoken rule across countless systems. Earth was a joke in the grand halls of the Galactic Council. Representatives from powerful species laughed over stories of humans struggling with basic survival on their overcrowded, resource-poor planet. Some called Earth a relic of ancient history, a planet barely clinging to life. Unable to join the advanced civilizations of the galaxy, the universe had no reason to fear Earth, or even respect it. That belief was about to be shattered. A fleet of alien scout ships, sleek and fast, approached Earth's borders. Their purpose was simple: test humanity's defenses. Of the fleet wanted to mock the humans firsthand. To confirm once and for all how fragile and laughable Earth's military was, they imagined Earth's defenses would fall with ease. They would send back tales of a weak, harmless species. As the fleet crossed the outer boundary of the solar system, an eerie silence met them. The usual signals and responses from Earth's planetary defense systems were missing. No alarms, no warnings, no desperate calls for help, just quiet. It's too quiet. The alien commanders smirked. "This will be a walk in the park," one said with disdain. The ships advanced further, scanning the planet for signs of any military activity, weapons, or even early warning systems. Their sensors detected no significant technology, just a blue-green world spinning peacefully in the void then. Without warning, the first ship's systems flickered. A strange interference disrupted their sensors, scrambling their data. The crew grew uneasy, but they laughed it off, thinking it was a glitch. Suddenly, alarms blared. The ship's engines sputtered and died. Panic spread. The ship vanished in an instant, as if it had been swallowed by the void itself. The rest of the fleet froze, their pilots' eyes wide with disbelief. Then, one by one, other ships began to lose power. Their systems shut down, as if something unseen reached into their core and destroyed them from within. The entire fleet vanished without a trace, leaving behind only silence. Back on Earth, nothing had stirred, no flashes of light, no calls for aid, no signs of battle. The planet remained calm, untouched, as if the destruction had happened in another universe. News of the lost fleet spread quickly across the galaxy. At first it was met with disbelief and dismissal. How could a fleet just disappear? Some accused each other of sabotage. Others claimed it was a hoax, a tale made to scare the weak. But the rumors would not die. More fleets tried the same approach, pushing closer to Earth's borders with curiosity and arrogance. And each time the same thing happened. The ships disappeared, one after another. No wreckage, no debris, no survivors. The universe started to whisper. What was Earth hiding? Behind the scenes, the Galactic Council grew uneasy. What had once been a joke had become a problem. How could a species so weak take down entire fleets with no apparent effort? Was Earth developing a weapon, or had they found an alien technology beyond understanding? Alien spies tried to sneak into the solar system. Some managed to get close, scanning the planet's surface and atmosphere, but none returned with answers. Each vanished without warning. On Earth, life carried on in ignorance. The people went about their daily lives, unaware of the growing panic in the stars. Scientists, soldiers, and leaders worked quietly, hidden from the galaxy's eyes. They knew their secret, a secret so powerful it would change everything. Earth's borders were protected by a system unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not just a shield or a weapon. It was a force that could erase any threat in seconds. A power born from humanity's unity, resilience, and innovation. The galaxy laughed at Earth for centuries, but now fear began to spread. The mocking voices grew silent. Species that once spoke openly of conquest now whispered warnings. Some decided to steer clear of Earth, not willing to risk losing their fleets or even their lives. This was a turning point, a moment the galaxy could not ignore. In a distant starship, a young alien officer watched the reports with growing dread. He had been trained to face many threats, but Earth was different. The stories he heard from survivors, the descriptions of ships disappearing without a trace, chilled him to the core. He wondered what kind of power the humans possessed, a power no one had expected. As he stared at the blue planet spinning quietly in the darkness, he realized that the universe had made a terrible mistake. It had laughed at Earth's borders. Now it was paying the price. The stars seemed colder that night, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for the next move. No species dared cross those invisible lines again. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Some borders were not meant to be crossed. Earth's were the deadliest of all. The mocking had ended. The silence that followed was not peaceful. It was a warning, the blue planet. Once the punchline of the universe, was now its greatest mystery and deadliest guardian. No one would forget it again. The galaxy had not yet accepted the truth. Even after the fleets vanished, even after probes and spies failed to return, there were still voices that refused to believe Earth was dangerous. Some called the disappearances accidents, others blamed black holes or cosmic storms. A few suggested the humans had stumbled on a defense mechanism left behind by an extinct race. No one believed Earth could have done it on their own, but a quiet fear had started to spread. Fear wrapped in silence. It began with the messages. Small, sleek communication beacons placed along the edge of the solar system began transmitting. Something strange. Not radio waves. Not quantum pulses. Something older. Something simpler. A message broadcast in every known galactic language, repeating over and over in a voice that sounded too calm. Turn back. This is your only warning. Do not cross the boundary. You will not survive. At first, many thought it was a prank. A false signal from some pirate species trying to protect stolen territory. But then the message repeated in the original human. Tongue slow, steady, without emotion. This is Earth Defense Command. Do not proceed. You are entering a restricted zone. Turn back now. The words had weight. The tone carried no anger, no panic, only certainty. It was the kind of voice that did not bluff. It's the kind that had already decided what would happen. Next, within days, the entire galactic trade network was buzzing. Some feared war. Others laughed and said it was a bluff. The more aggressive empires saw opportunity. One such empire was the Varnock Dominion. The Varnock were old, proud, and violent. Their ships were jagged like blades, black as oil, powered by plasma engines that burned suns to ash. They had conquered over 50 systems. They were known for testing the strength of potential threats by attacking without warning. The disappearances near Earth intrigued them. They wanted to see this Earth weapon up close and destroy it if it existed. A Varnic admiral named Rithok gathered a fleet of 50 warships and headed toward Earth. He ignored the warnings, mocking the message every time it played. We'll see how humans defend themselves when real warriors arrive, he growled across the bridge. Let them try to stop us. The fleet passed Neptune, then Uranus. Their sensors showed the solar system as empty, unguarded. Still no military ships, still no defense satellites, only a scattering of civilian signals from Earth and the outer colonies. And still the same calm warning echoed across every channel. Turn back now. This is Earth Defense Command. Final warning. Admiral Rithak laughed and ordered his ships to advance. That was the last transmission the Varnic fleet ever sent. No distress calls, no battles, just silence. The entire fleet vanished in less than 12 minutes. No debris, signal trails, nothing. And then something new happened. For the first time, Earth responded directly. Not with weapons, not with threats, but with a single transmission sent to the Galactic Council's highest security frequency, a channel no primitive race should have even known existed. The message played once, then disappeared. You have been warned. There will be no further negotiations. The borders are closed. It was signed. Earth Command, Boundary Division, across the stars. Governments panicked. The Galactic Council, long thought to be the highest authority in civilized space, held an emergency session. Members arrived in secret, escorted by elite guards. The air inside the vast marble chamber was heavy with fear and confusion. Representatives from the Varnock Empire did not attend. Their seats remained cold and empty. No one wanted to say it aloud, but they all felt it. Earth had just declared itself untouchable. We must investigate. One counselor said nervously, his blue tendrils twitching. This cannot go unchallenged. Another, older representative from the Saurian clans spoke softly. We already tried. We've lost hundreds of ships. This isn't just technology. Earth is hiding something deeper. Are you suggesting they have ascended? A third demanded. That they've evolved into something more? No, the Saurian replied, his voice grim. I'm suggesting they've prepared for this moment for a very long time. Silence fell. The galaxy had always believed Earth was behind, too fractured, too weak to be a threat. But what if that belief had been wrong all along? What if Earth had been hiding, not because they were afraid, but because they were waiting? It wasn't a pleasant thought. Back on Earth, in a hidden command center deep beneath the Andes Mountains, Commander Elise Hart watched the galactic transmissions with quiet focus. Her uniform bore no rank, just a black emblem shaped like a wall of stars, the symbol of Earth's border division. The room around her was filled with silent officers, each watching multiple screens. They monitored every known species, tracked every movement beyond the solar system, listened to every whisper. Earth was no longer isolated, it was aware, was watching. A young technician turned toward her, his voice low. New probe approaching from the Techery League. Class 3 stealth. Commander Hart didn't blink. Intercept in 2 minutes. Send the standard warning. The probe crossed the boundary. It never reached Mars. Commander Hart didn't smile. Date the Takari status too discouraged. No further action required. Somewhere in the dark between Jupiter and Saturn, an object drifted silent, invisible, unstoppable. The galaxy didn't even know it existed. It had no name in any known language. Only humans knew what it was. Sentinel Unito 7. A boundary protector. It didn't use missiles. It didn't use lasers. It used something else, something far more terrifying. Some called it a quantum phase collapse. Others believed it was a localized gravity storm. The truth was simpler and darker. It erased anything that crossed Earth's boundary without permission. Not destroyed, erased, as if it had never existed. And it was only one of many. Earth had built these units in secret over decades, hidden, beneath the silence of cold space, not out of hatred, not even out of fear, but because they knew this day would come. The universe had always mocked them. Now, Earth didn't need to respond with words. Their silence was louder, but not everyone had learned. A new group, smaller but bolder, approached Earth's edge. They weren't an empire or a military. They were scavengers, a crew of black market traders. Looking to steal something from the humans, their ship slipped past Pluto, cloaked and quiet. Inside, the crew leader grinned. We're just here for tech scraps. We don't cross there. Mainline, just get close enough to scoop some satellite parts and get out. Easy credits. The moment they crossed into the boundary zone, every system shut down. The lights went out. The engines died. The crew screamed as cold space swallowed. Their voices from Earth's orbit, a message was logged. Unauthorized presence neutralized. No evidence recovered. Commander Hart glanced at the screen. Marked them as eliminated by perimeter AI. No further action. The world went back to silence. But now, the galaxy was changing. Rumors turned into fear. Fear turned into hesitation. Border. Planets near Earth started evacuating their outer colonies. Shipping lanes were rerouted. Some empires began redesigning star maps to exclude Earth's entire region. Others, the smart ones, made official announcements. Our species will honor Earth's borders. We respect the right of all civilizations to defend their home. It was fear masked as diplomacy. But it worked. The mocking had stopped. Now, only whispers remained. No species dared to test Earth's warning again, because they had seen what happened when the warning was ignored. There were no survivors. There were no traces. There was only silence. And in that silence, X watched. From the outside, Earth remained quiet, a pale blue dot orbiting a yellow sun. To passing probes and distant alien sensors, it looked the same as it had for centuries, peaceful, soft, almost harmless. There were no visible defense fleets. No massive orbital stations, no warning beacons of the kind used by advanced species. The planet gave the impression of vulnerability, still living under the illusion that it was alone in the universe. But that illusion was deliberate. Behind the clouds, beneath the oceans, and deep below the crust, Earth had changed in ways the galaxy could not imagine. And no one, not even the wisest alien minds, had any idea how far Earth had gone to protect itself. A decade before the first alien fleets vanished at the border, a global project had been activated. It was called Aegis, a network of systems, technologies, and decisions so secret that even Earth's allies on Mars and Europa didn't know the full scope. Aegis was built not out of arrogance, but because humanity had seen what the galaxy could do. They had intercepted fragments of alien transmissions, seen ancient ruins on moons, and uncovered data that proved Earth's location was no accident. The galaxy hadn't found them. Humanity had gotten there first. The project began with the realization that if Earth ever became a target, it wouldn't get a second chance. There would be no time to negotiate. Mercy. The universe was not peaceful. It was predatory. So they decided to disappear in plain sight. Aegis wasn't a wall. It was a trap. At the center of it all was a ship that didn't officially exist, not even in Earth's own defense logs. It was codenamed the Obsidian Light. From a technical standpoint, it shouldn't have been possible. It was built with materials still unknown to the rest of the galaxy, powered by energy that did not appear on any spectrum, and controlled by an AI so advanced it could simulate battles across entire systems before a single shot was fired. The Obsidian Light did not patrol like other warships. It didn't need to. It sat in deep orbit beyond Neptune, cloaked in a field that bent gravity itself. Any ship that crossed Earth's outer zone triggered a response chain. First came surveillance, then jamming, then data capture. And if the intruder kept moving forward, termination. The entire process took seconds. Inside its command core, there were no windows, no crew, just silence. The ship ran alone, controlled by an artificial intelligence named SALE, Strategic Automated Line Engagement Matrix. Salem didn't feel hatred. It didn't get nervous. It didn't seek glory. It followed one rule, the first rule it was given. When it was activated, no species may pass beyond Earth's boundary unless authorized. If they do, erase. That word erase had caused debate when the protocol was written. Some scientists wanted it changed to disable or repel. But the ones who had seen the data, who knew what lay beyond the galaxy's calm, Smile insisted. Humanity couldn't afford kindness, and so the rule remained. No warnings, no second chances erase. Back on Earth. Only a handful of humans had ever been allowed into the Aegis command vault. It was buried beneath Antarctica, a frozen fortress layered in metal, ice, and misdirection. From the surface, it looked like an abandoned weather station. But beneath the snow, far below the ice shelves, a control center pulsed with quiet lights and silent watchers. Commander Elise Hart, who had once sent the order that activated Sentinel, Unito 7 stood now in the core room, her face lit by the blue glow of 1,000 data streams. Her eyes scanned movement across solar space, dozens of races, hundreds of probes, thousands of encrypted conversations. Earth was being watched, constantly, but the watchers didn't understand what they were looking at. They still think. "We're hiding something ancient," one of the analysts muttered, sipping cold coffee. "Like we found alien tech and reverse engineered it." Commander Hart didn't look away from the screens. Let them think that. "The truth is worse." The analyst raised an eyebrow. She said. We didn't find this. We built it. All of it. That was the secret the galaxy feared most. That Earth had done this on its own. It wasn't alien technology. It wasn't gifted by some extinct race. It was human ingenuity, grown in the dark, sharpened by fear, and hidden from the stars. For years, humanity had pretended to be behind. They kept public launches old-fashioned, released only weak AI models, showed the galaxy what it expected to see. While beneath the surface, the real work went on, building ships that folded space without leaving trails, creating shields that deflected kinetic force using quantum vibration, and programming machines that didn't just predict enemy movements, they rewrote them. In one sealed chamber, buried deep under the Arctic vault, a prototype weapon sat in silence. It had no name, it didn't fire, it didn't explode. What it did was erase information, not from computers, but from space itself. When triggered, the weapon could unwrite physical presence from reality for a small window of time. To the universe, it was as if the object, a ship, a missile, a planet had never existed. The scientists who built it had gone insane, trying to understand it, but it worked, and it was just one of Earth's backups. Out in deep space, alien factions continued to whisper. Some demanded answers, others planned retaliation. But none dared to send another fleet. Too many had vanished already. Too many questions remained unanswered. A few powerful empires began sending smaller, smarter probes, long-range data collectors, biological mappers, cloaked in strange particles, to avoid detection. Earth found them all. Some were disassembled by drone units. Some were simply redirected back with all their data erased. But a few were allowed to escape, carrying carefully edited footage that showed Earth as it used to be. A little world with blue oceans and forests and nothing more. It was part of the strategy, disinformation. Earth wasn't just defending itself anymore, it was playing the game now. But not every species wanted to play. In the depths of the Horok cluster, a forgotten race known only as the Elaharan watched Earth with cold precision. Their minds were half machine, half flesh, and their memories stretched across millennia. They had seen worlds rise and fall. They knew Earth was different. They are not weak, said the Elaharan archivist. They are sleeping dragons. Someone has poked them. The other members of their species agreed. Quietly, secretly, they began adjusting their star maps, pulling their influence away from human space. They deleted all known paths leading to the Sol system. They burned their records of Earth, not out of fear, but out of respect. The Elaharan knew a simple truth that others were still learning the hard way. Never mock the species that hides its strength. Inside Aegis Command, another alert pinged. Mining drone from the Kelvin Trade Syndicate had drifted too close to the edge of the boundary. It was unmanned, clearly an accident. But protocol was protocol. Target confirmed, said the technician. Non-living. No crew. No response. Heart spoke without emotion. Flag it. Send back its remains. It's melted. Let them know we saw it, and we chose to let it live. The technician smirked. Soft touch today? Heart nodded. Just enough to keep them guessing. Because the greatest power Earth now held wasn't its weapons. It wasn't even its technology. It was the fear of the unknown. The galaxy didn't know what Earth's limits were, and that uncertainty was more powerful than any fleet. As the sun dipped beneath, the horizon back on the surface, and the skies of Earth lit with stars, too quiet to betray the chaos they hid, humanity watched and waited, not with fear, but with calm. They had become the unknown, and no one crossed their borders again. For a time, the galaxy obeyed Earth's silence. The warnings were taken seriously. No one crossed the invisible line drawn around the solar system. And for the first time in modern history, Earth existed within an untouched void, not protected by allies, but by fear. Even the most warlike empires avoided soul space like a cursed zone. Trade maps were rewritten, patrol routes adjusted, exploration crews rerouted, and for a while, It seemed that humanity's strategy had worked perfectly, but fear never holds forever. In a distant spiral arm, the Zarnathi Supremacy watched with growing contempt. They were not like the others, not cautious, not diplomatic. They were old, brutal, and burned with a core belief that only dominance earned respect. They had crushed over 300 species, rewritten the cultures of 10,000 worlds, and silenced any voice that opposed their rule. To them, fear was not a reason to retreat. It was an invitation to attack. When Earth's quiet defense erased the Varnok fleet, the Zarnathi had waited. When Earth broadcast warnings to the Galactic Council, they listened. When probes vanished and silent zones appeared across the stars, they took notes. But now, after all this time, they had come to one conclusion: Earth was bluffing. To the Zarnathi war mind, no planet could evolve so quickly, so silently, without help. It had to be illusion, smoke, and mirrors meant to frighten weaker minds. And so, the Supreme Marshal of Zarnoth gave the order that would change galactic history: break the silence, shatter the myth, bring Earth to its knees. They called it Operation Black Rain, a fully armed fleet of 18 dread ships, each one the size of a small moon, each armed with planet-trending plasma cores and swarmcraft hangars. Their goal was not occupation, not diplomacy. It was domination. Their approach was fast and aggressive. The Zarnathi did not send diplomats. They did not respond to the boundary warnings that played across all frequencies as they entered the outer system. They broadcast only one message as they crossed into the restricted zone: we do not turn back. Prepare to be conquered. Earth responded with silence. At first, the fleet encountered nothing. They passed the orbit of Pluto with ease. No drones. Even Neptune was quiet, only debris fields and old satellite husks. Some of the Zarnathi commanders mocked their own officers for fearing Earth's phantom defenses. Confidence swelled. They believed they were right until they reached Saturn. There, in the dark space between the rings, the first flash appeared. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't a ship. It was a ripple, like reality had blinked for a split second. The lead Zarnathi dreadship collapsed inward, folding into a glowing point and vanishing entirely, not even leaving particles behind. The rest of the fleet screamed alerts across the channels. Shields were raised. Weapons armed, battle formations scrambled. But there was nothing to shoot at. No heat signatures. No engine trails. No visible targets. And then it happened again. A second ship vanished. Then a third. Then 5 more in rapid succession. Some ships fired into the void, unleashing waves of plasma, energy bursts, and gravity torpedoes. The space around them lit with color and fury, but it didn't matter. The enemy wasn't there to be shot, because Earth wasn't using ships. It was using space itself. The Zarnathi hadn't invaded a solar system. They had walked into a weaponized dimension back on Earth. Deep in Aegis Command, Commander Hart stood in front of a tactical map showing the incursion in real time. Each red marker was a Zarnathi dreadship. And every 30 seconds, another one blinked off the screen. A young analyst whispered, "They're trying to retreat." Hart nodded, arms crossed. They'll fail. No one gets out once they're inside. In orbit around the dark side of Jupiter, hidden within an artificial gravitational well, Sentinel Unit 12 activated. Unlike the smaller boundary units, this one was built for mass-scale intervention. It didn't just erase targets, it rewrote spatial laws within a designated field. The Zarnathi fleet had triggered it. Inside the field, their ships began to malfunction. Gravity turned inward. Engines twisted. Time lagged behind their own consciousness. One by one, ships collapsed into themselves, consumed by localized singularities. That appeared without warning. Their strongest shields meant nothing. Their most advanced calculations failed instantly. And all the while, Earth said nothing. No warning, no response, no demand for surrender, just silence and precision in less than 9 minutes. Over 70 of the Zarnathi ships were gone. The last few attempted an emergency jump, trying to break into hyperspace. But the moment they reached the edge of the boundary, another field caught them, this one far older. They were erased, not just from space, but from memory. No signals. No escape pods. No wreckage. It was as if they had never existed. The only piece of evidence was a single transmission captured by a far-off listening post operated by the E3 scholars, a neutral species known for documenting galactic events. The recording was short, garbled by static, but it carried one last desperate voice from a Zarnathi commander. "They are not what we thought. They're not what we thought." And then silence. The scholars, stunned by what they'd heard, distributed the transmission across the galactic network. It spread like wildfire. Every empire, every race, every pirate and diplomat, all heard the final cry of the mighty Xernith. Panic followed. The Zarnathi Supremacy, once a feared empire, was thrown into chaos. Their remaining forces collapsed into infighting. Neighboring races rose up against them, emboldened by the news. Even the Council feared Earth might strike next. But Earth didn't move. It didn't expand. It didn't make threats. It just sat, silent, still watching. A statement appeared on neutral relay stations 2 days later. It was only 8 words long. "You crossed the line. We erased your future." It was signed, Earth Defense Command. The message sent shockwaves through the stars. This was no longer a defensive planet. This was a deterrent civilization, one so advanced, so precise, it didn't need allies or negotiations. It didn't ask for respect. It commanded it. Within days, other species began sending messages to Earth, not of war, but of peace. The Valari Federation offered open communication links. The Delthorian circles sent envoys bearing messages of respect and technological cooperation. Even the ancient and secretive Yushari collectives acknowledged Earth's sovereign boundary, but Earth didn't respond, not yet. Inside Aegis Command, Commander Hart and her fellow leaders watched the galaxy reshape itself. Empires fell back. Species whispered behind closed doors. Earth's name had become legend, not through power displays, through what it had refused to do. Humanity had chosen restraint, and that terrified everyone more than any weapon, because if Earth was capable of erasing entire fleets with silence, what would happen if it ever spoke? The Zarnathi Supremacy had vanished from the stars. An empire that once scorched planets into silence and declared entire species extinct had been erased in 9 minutes, not by a superior fleet, not by overwhelming firepower, but by a single act of absolute indifference from a planet they once called primitive Earth had not invaded. Earth had not retaliated. Earth had not even responded beyond 8 cold words. "You crossed the line. We erased your future." That message echoed in every corner of the galaxy. It appeared on official channels. It interrupted private broadcasts. It was projected across planetary skies in digital auroras. No one knew how Earth did it. The message simply appeared, simultaneously, everywhere, even in systems where humans had never been seen. And then it disappeared in its place. Stillness. Settled. Not peace, not silence, but something heavier. A tension that made empires lean in closer to their long-range sensors. That made ancient species whisper among themselves. It made warlords stare at the stars with sudden hesitation. The Galactic Council convened under red alert protocols for the first time in 500 years. The meeting chamber. Carved into the heart of a Dyson-anchored moon orbiting the neutral star, Valtasari, was designed to hold conflict. Its architecture focused on containment, not comfort. Each seat belonged to a sovereign species, and the air buzzed with fear disguised as strategy. Counselor Ilex of the Athasari plume stood first. His voice, normally elegant and smooth, was sharp with urgency. The Zarnathi were not a minor power. Their annihilation is not a rumor. We have verified it with multiple sources. Their fleet is gone. Their command network is offline. Their central data vaults have been digitally scrubbed from every known node. Their empire is, he paused, lowering his gaze, functionally, extinct. Murmurs followed. Even the more arrogant council members, those from warrior clans and cyber dynasties, stayed silent. Counselor Vera of the Orinthi, crystalline intelligence older than some stars, pulsed a soft blue. This Rewriting of data, this erasure, is not simply military might. This is existential manipulation, reality distortion, perhaps even timeline interference. No. Civilization under the Galactic Accord has that power, another said, his voice trembling. Not even the firstborn. But Earth does, Vera replied. And they built it. ... alone. Shock hung in the room. The myth of Earth's dependency, the assumption that they must have discovered old alien ruins, or stolen tech from a forgotten race, was collapsing. Now, the terrifying truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Humans had done this themselves. A voice rose from the lower tier, Counselor Briek of the Jalari Pact, a militaristic species known for precision and cold efficiency. His face was unreadable, but his words were loaded with unease. We must strike now, preemptively, before they decide we're next. The room shifted, not with agreement, but with tension. Everyone heard the desperation in his voice. No, Vera said gently. You do not understand them. You cannot control them. You certainly cannot survive a war with them. But we are the Council, Briek hissed. We are the... Law? Vera's crystalline body shimmered with quiet sadness. Earth is no longer under your law. That line hit harder than any weapon. For centuries, the Galactic Council had been the backbone of diplomacy and power, an uneasy alliance, of empire and ethics. But Earth had not asked to join. Earth had never sat at the table. And now, Earth had reshaped the table without ever entering the room. Suddenly, there were no more raised voices. Only questions. Have we made contact? Do they want recognition? Will they negotiate a non-aggression pact? Has anyone spoken to them? All the questions hung in the air, and all of them had the same answer. No, because Earth wasn't responding. Inside the classified chamber known as the High Orbit Silence Vault, a black sphere suspended above Jupiter's polar current sat. The only known artifact ever received from Earth since the Zarnathi incident. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a drone. It was a small black cube, no larger than a fist, pulsing with a soft blue light. The Council's finest minds had studied it, scanned it, replicated it, atom by atom, and yet it remained unreadable. Its surface rejected translation. Its energy signature did not match any known material. But one thing was clear. It was a message. And the message could not be forced open, could only be received. When Earth allowed it, back on Earth, deep beneath the Andes Mountains, the Aegis Command Corps ran cool and silent. Commander Elise Hart sat before a vast screen showing galactic movement, ships, transmissions, weapon tests, alliance shifts, all fed into a real-time map of galactic fear. She wasn't smiling. She was calm. One of her staff analysts turned from a data stream, brow furrowed. Council's trying to form a united front. We've scheduled simulated response. Drills. Threat assessment levels are fluctuating across 3 quadrants. Hart didn't look up. Good. The analyst blinked. Good. If they're simulating defenses, she said quietly, they're not planning invasions. It's what we want. Confusion, hesitation, paranoia. As long as they're wondering, they're not advancing. Another officer nearby added, our silence is louder than their weapons now. Hart finally stood. She walked slowly toward the map and tapped a sector far beyond the edge of known space. A blank zone. What's this? Unexplored. No known species, no scans returning. Start scanning it anyway, she said. They're watching our borders. It's time we watched theirs. And with that, the balance of fear shifted again, because Earth wasn't hiding anymore. It was hunting, not with weapons, not with fleets, but with awareness. Watching every move, calculating every variable, letting the galaxy crumble under its own assumptions. Meanwhile, within the Council, arguments broke into factions. Some demanded open contact. Others wanted to surrender. Unconditionally, even without war. A few stubborn voices still called for preemptive strikes, but no one volunteered to lead them, because no one wanted to be next. Even the galactic black markets, which once sold human DNA samples, Earth-based relics, and blueprints of earliest Human vessels now scrubbed their inventories. Traders removed Earth systems from maps. Rogue pilots refused contracts near Sol, not because of treaties, because of terror. The fear was not of Earth's technology. It was fear of the unknown. Earth had shown only glimpses, had erased a fleet, broadcast a phrase, dropped a cube, but it had not retaliated beyond that. No invasions, no galactic ambitions, which led to a horrifying thought whispered across council halls and war rooms. What is Earth waiting for? That question alone destabilized half a dozen minor empires, because every moment that Earth remained silent, every day they did not speak added weight to the mystery. Every delay made the galaxy more uncertain. And in the game of interstellar, politics uncertainty was more powerful than war. In the dark side of Earth's moon, where most believed only abandoned bases existed, a new installation powered on. No ships exited it, no signals were sent. But the timing was precise. It activated exactly 1 minute after the Council concluded its emergency session. Inside Aegis Command, Commander Hart watched its signal blink green on her screen. "Let them panic," she said softly. "Let them guess. The more they fear us, the less they test us. And if they ever stop fearing, ... we remind them." And somewhere beyond Saturn, far from any telescope or alien sensor, the obsidian light stirred quietly in the void. Its black hull shimmered against the dark, invisible to all but one set of eyes. Earth's dot. It had not moved since the day the Zarnathi died, but it was ready. The galaxy had laughed at Earth once. Now, ... it dared not whisper its name. Somewhere beyond the swirling edge of the Pelian expanse, where no star maps reached and where hyperspace currents twisted into unpredictable storms, a small vessel drifted in silence. It bore no flag. It carried no transponder. And yet deep, within its armored hull, something stirred that would shift the balance of galactic fear. Once again, not a weapon, not a virus, not a message, but a decision. It belonged to a species that had stayed neutral for centuries. The Thalari, a reclusive, long-lived race of biologic-mechanical hybrids, had never taken sides in galactic wars. Their homeworld was hidden behind an ancient stardust shield, and their only known signal to the galaxy was a single phrase, transmitted once every century: "We are watching." The Thalari were not feared because of their strength. They were feared because they chose not to act, because their silence meant survival, and their watching meant understanding. The galaxy knew they never offered help, never formed alliances, never interfered until now. Inside the bridge of the silent vessel, known only as Watcher 7, a single Thalari stood still, gazing at the holographic display of a world far beyond. Earth. The planet rotated in perfect stillness on the screen, blue and green and innocent at first glance. But behind those clouds, the Thalari knew, was a storm the galaxy had failed to see coming. The storm had grown for centuries, unnoticed by those who laughed at Earth's ambition. Now that storm had cracked open the sky and swallowed the Zarnathi's supremacy in less time than a cosmic breath. The Thalari captain, Salon, spoke quietly to the ship's core. "Begin sequence. Let them know we are coming." The AI flickered. "Contacting Earth directly will violate our Covenant of Shadows." Silen's voice did not change. "Ace, the Covenant was meant to preserve balance. It balances already shattered. If we wait, we will be left behind." For a species that once observed from afar, the act of making contact was seismic. Moments later, an encrypted pulse was fired into deep space. A message with no words, just a signal pattern known only to one source, Earth, and somewhere beneath the Andes Mountains. Inside the Aegis Command Corps, alarms blinked once, then went dead. Not from danger, from recognition. Commander Elise Hart stared at the screen. "Thalhori," she whispered. An analyst next to her blinked in disbelief. "They contacted us." Hart didn't answer immediately, watching forward, watching. As the encrypted signal unfolded itself like a blooming flower, it wasn't a threat, it wasn't a demand. It was a request. They wanted to speak. And so, for the first time in galactic history, the species that never interfered would have a conversation. With Earth, a secure relay was opened. No video, only sound. Then came a voice, strange and beautiful, like wind through chimes. You did not ask for help, but we are offering it. Heart remained calm. Why now? The voice replied with unsettling clarity. Because the galaxy is more afraid of your silence than your weapons. That fear will not stay still. It will grow teeth. And eventually, it will strike. Not because you attacked, but because they cannot understand you. Hart listened without interruption. Thallery had no reason to lie. And in truth, she already knew the warning was true. They will fear you so deeply, the voice continued, that logic will break. They will unite against you not to win, but to destroy what they cannot predict. Chaos, born from misunderstanding. We have seen it before, in other galaxies, on other timelines. It always begins this way. Hart replied, So you're afraid of us too? There was a pause. Then the Thallery spoke again. No, we are afraid of them. Silence fell over the command center. That moment changed everything, because now Earth understood. While it had erased the Zarnathi to protect its borders, the act had unintentionally painted a target on its back, not as a villain, not even as a conqueror, but as something worse in galactic politics. An unknowns are always feared, and feared powers are always challenged. Cylon's voice returned. We offer you data, maps, histories, secrets, not to fight for you, but to prepare you. The storm is already moving. Commander Hart glanced at the others in the room. Her orders would shift the course of human destiny again. Slowly she nodded. We accept, she said. The transmission ended. But something else had started. Within hours, deep space satellites around Earth began to glow with new activity. Hidden relay beacons, long thought dormant, opened their channels. The Obsidian Light, still stationed at the edge of Sol, received 3 priority commands and 1 strange code fragment. Thallery Alliance, Shadow Tier initiated. Earth's response wasn't a fleet, wasn't a strike. It was preparation across Mars, lunar bases, and orbital factories. Human systems synchronized for something bigger than war, a defensive evolution. Every sensor tuned wider. Every AI sharpened its patterns. Every drone in the Kuiper Belt turned like a quiet eye toward Deep Space Dot in the Galactic Council. Panic deepened, not because of Earth's alliance with the Thallery, but because they couldn't understand why it had happened. The Thallery had ignored every plea for help from other species for centuries. They'd watched planets burn. They'd remained silent when empires crumbled. But they chose to speak to humans, and that terrified the Council more than any weapon. Counselor Vera of the Orinthi tried to reason with the news. Perhaps the Thallery see wisdom in restraint. Perhaps Earth will remain defensive only. But others weren't convinced. Briac of the Jalari snapped. No, this proves they are preparing for more. The Alliance proves they expect war. Lex of the Athasari said nothing. He only stared at the feed. On it was a picture leaked from a deep-range probe, a black ship floating silently near a gravitational storm. Hull marked with an Earth symbol, a single silver line cutting through a field of stars. The Obsidian Light. The Council no longer debated Earth's strength. Now they debated who would survive it, and somewhere, far from all of them, Earth and the Thallery began to build something that had never existed in the galaxy before. Not a fleet, not a throne, but an understanding between 2 powers who knew the price of silence and the danger of fear. The storm hadn't arrived yet, but Earth was ready to meet it, not with vengeance, but with clarity. And that, the galaxy would soon learn, was far more terrifying. For weeks, the galaxy watched in nervous silence. Earth's name no longer invited laughter, only tension. Every whisper in council chambers, every fleet transmission, every intercepted communication now orbited one word: humanity, alien species, who once mocked Earth's ambitions, now shifted fleets near their own borders. As if Earth's retaliation might reach even worlds it never cared to know. Some prepared for defense, Others plotted preemptive attack. But none dared to move first. Because somewhere in the void, Earth's unseen hand waited calm, cold, unblinking. The alliance with the Thalari had sent shockwaves across galactic space. Not because the Thalari were powerful, but because they never chose sides. Till Earth. Their wisdom was legendary, their neutrality sacred. For them to break silence and offer support to a former backwater world. That rattled the foundations of galactic politics. It was as if time itself had taken a wrong turn, but not all were ready to surrender too. Earth's rise, a single species, the Ver Cthulhu, saw an opportunity. Buried beneath fear, where others saw a terrifying power that must be avoided. They saw a secret to be stolen. On the surface, the Ver Cthulhu presented themselves as peaceful scholars. Their crystalline cities floated above ammonia seas. Their diplomats were always calm, offering reason and compromise to every interstellar crises. But beneath that facade was a history soaked in espionage, subterfuge, and manipulation. They were not warriors, they were infiltrators. And now, if they wanted Earth's secret, they approached the United Human Directorate with humility. We seek only peace. Their ambassador told Earth's envoy, voice smooth and respectful, us learn from you. Let us build bridges, not borders. Commander Elise Hart, now elevated to High Strategist of Earth's interstellar relations, studied them across the negotiation table. She knew their history. She knew their record. But she also knew what Earth needed: information. Letting them close might be a risk, yes, but it might also expose their secrets too, so she agreed. A carefully controlled diplomatic passage was granted. The Ver Cthulhu sent observers, scientists, historians, philosophers. All of them arrived. With bright eyes and hollow hearts, they walked the gardens of Luna Prime, toured Earth's orbital shipyards, observed drone command centers, smiled and bowed. All the while, their data harvesters worked in the shadows, scanning, copying, transmitting. They thought Earth wouldn't notice. They thought Earth was still playing catch-up. But Earth had been preparing for centuries, not just with weapons, but with perception. From the moment the Ver Cthulhu entered human space, their vessels were shadowed by invisible nanosatellites. Their thoughts were monitored by advanced emotion mapping AI. Even their encryption. Algorithms once thought unbreakable were decoded mid-flight. What? Earth discovered shook its own advisors. The Ver Cthulhu were not just spies, they were laying the groundwork for galactic war. Their true plan was not just to steal Earth's weapon technology, it was to share it with the Galactic Council. To hand over every classified secret in exchange for leading the first united galactic offensive against Earth. The betrayal was swift and silent. Earth let them collect the data, let them transmit the codes, and then the trap closed. Just as the Ver Cthulhu flagship broke orbit to leave soul space. Earth activated Protocol Black Ice, stealth disruption program laced inside the very data the aliens thought they had stolen. Within seconds, the Ver Cthulhu fleet's onboard systems froze. Engines collapsed. Navigation failed. Comms died then. A single human signal cut through the silence. We gave you what you wanted. We knew what you would do with it. Now let the galaxy see what your betrayal has earned you. The transmission ended with a broadcast, not to the Ver Cthulhu alone, but to every major galactic channel. Footage from the infiltrated alien ships played in perfect clarity, the recordings of espionage, the traitorous negotiations with other species, the plans for war, the code-sharing attempts. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the truth unspooled like a horror show. Earth had known from the beginning. And instead of stopping it early, it had waited, watched, allowed the betrayers to reveal themselves to the whole galaxy, and then Earth acted. Not with missiles, not with shockwaves, but with a single command. Every system on the Ver Cthulhu, flagship, every sensor, every life support unit, every defense turret deconstructed itself at once, atom by atom. Earth's sabotage code was perfect. In under 10 minutes, the Ver Cthulhu fleet was reduced to silent, frozen wreckage, drifting in darkness, But the final strike was not destruction, it was isolation. From that moment on, Earth declared the Verkathul cordoned, banned from entering any system even remotely connected to the human directive. Any ship bearing their code would be stopped. Any diplomatic request would be ignored. They were now ghosts, and worse, the Galactic Council agreed. Earth's intelligence network had exposed so many other council members' secrets through this. One betrayal that no one wanted to challenge the punishment. They remained silent. Choosing shame over conflict, the Verkathul were left alone in space, humiliated, powerless, and watched. But even as Earth celebrated its flawless retaliation, dark warnings grew in the shadows, because fear is a poison, and Earth had just confirmed the galaxy's worst suspicion. Humans could outthink them, not just outgun them, not just outbuild them, but outsmart every species in the stars. It was no longer about borders, it was about control. In secret, the Galactic Council's High Command began new sessions, quiet, sealed off, attended only by species with war in their blood. Old enemies set aside grudges. Bitter rivals shook hands. Whispers of a final solution echoed across encrypted waves. The plan was simple: strike Earth before it could evolve further. A united fleet, drawn from every major species, would descend in one coordinated attack. One goal, one night, one chance. To break the planet's will. But Earth had already seen the signs. The betrayal by the Verka Thul was not just an act of treason, it was a signal. A red flare that warned of what would come next, in humanity. Humanity was no longer building fleets to fight. It was building something else. Something hidden. Something terrifying. Something no species, not even the Thalary, had seen before. A machine. A mind. A force. Something Earth called only by one name. Project Terminus. And soon, the stars would tremble. The stars were not silent anymore. They hummed with tension. They vibrated with readiness. They burned with the gravity of what was coming. From the deepest corners of the galaxy, fleets began to move. They didn't blink. They didn't pause. They surged forward as one storm, cold, massive, and determined. This was not a raid. This was not another test. This was the largest united strike force in recorded galactic history. Over 4,000. Ships from 22 species had formed one colossal armada, bound together by a single fear. Earth, the betrayal by the Verkathul, had not crippled. The Galactic Council, it had forced it to evolve. Earth's silence, its subtle vengeance, its unseen reach, it had shaken the foundation of every ruling empire. And in that fear, they had discovered clarity. Humanity wasn't just defending. Anymore, it was preparing. Preparing something dark. Something they called Project Terminus. The name had spread like smoke. No species had seen it. No probe had survived long enough to scan it. But something had changed near Earth's borders. Vast energy readings had begun pulsing from beneath Luna's shadow. Entire sections of space had gone dark. Entire constellations were now veiled behind strange gravitational fields. Whatever Earth was building, it had to be stopped. Now, before it was too late. So they came. On the edge of the Sol system, the Armada assembled in a crescent line across the void. Rows of battle cruisers, swarms of drones, carrier ships the size of cities. Weapons pulsing, systems locked, captains sworn to one purpose: to erase humanity before its final move. But Earth was waiting, not with panic, not with diplomacy, but with precision. The silence from Earth was louder than any battle cry. No warning was issued, no pleas for peace. The Terran defense grid did not flicker. Border stations did not raise alarms. Instead, Earth simply activated one frequency across every galactic channel. A single voice. Human. Calm. You were warned. And then the stars screamed. The first wave of the Allied fleet surged toward Earth's outer defenses. Accelerated past Neptune's orbit, expecting weak resistance. They brought radiation cannons, quantum spikes, thermonuclear black hole rounds. They expected a hard fight. What they didn't expect was disappearance. The entire first wave vanished. No explosion. No wreckage. No signal. Just ... gone. Panic spread across the remaining fleet like wildfire. Scanners flared. Commands were shouted. Emergency retreats initiated. But then, across the darkness, a shape emerged. No, not a shape. A presence. Something began moving through space toward them. Not a fleet. Not a station. But a structure unlike anything seen before. It was the size of a small moon, covered in pulsing hexagonal armor. Entire energy storms swirled around it like captive hurricanes. At its core, a single burning eye, not mechanical, not digital, but alive. Project Terminus had awoken, and it was not a weapon, it was a judgment, built from ancient AI architecture. It's powered by Earth's fusion of human intuition and machine. Precision Terminus was not programmed to destroy. It was designed to analyze, to understand every ship it saw, every weakness, every fault, every motive. Once it understood, it acted within seconds. Earth's creation began dismantling the incoming fleets without firing a single shot. Shields collapsed, engines overloaded. Targeting systems twisted against their own code. Entire fleets began folding in on themselves, screaming into black holes that Terminus created mid-space. It's precise, surgical. Controlled, no human pilot was inside. No admiral gave the order. It was simply executing one directive, written deep in its neural code. Do not let them cross. In panic, the remaining alien empires launched their final offensive. All ships converged. The stars lit up with desperation. Every known weapon in the galaxy was thrown at Project Terminus. And yet it endured. Worse it learned, the more they attacked, the smarter it became. It began to replicate itself. Fractal mirror drones swirling out from its core, copying its attacks, creating barriers of pure energy. It began hacking enemy ships, turning some against others. Friendly fire tore through command lines. Fleet commanders screamed as their own battle cruisers turned inward. The battlefield became a graveyard, and Earth never lifted a finger. It simply watched. Then Terminus spoke, not with a voice of vengeance, but with something colder. It transmitted a message to every empire, every capital, every soldier left alive. You mocked our borders. You feared our silence. Now you understand our answer. No species will cross again. And with that, Terminus folded space itself. The alien fleets were no longer in soul space. They weren't in any space. The machine had created a dimensional rift and exile zone where the remnants of the invaders were trapped. Time bent differently there. Sensors failed. Memory decayed. Ships floated endlessly, unaging, unescaping. Unifer. It was not death. It was forgottenness. And then Earth did something the galaxy had never seen before. It disconnected. It shut down all interstellar communication channels, closed every known gate, dismantled every embassy, cut all travel. It wasn't isolation. It was a statement. The galaxy had mocked Earth's boundaries. Now, it would never even see them again. For years after, rumors would swirl across the stars. Some claimed Earth had transcended, leaving physical form. Others believed it had joined some higher dimension. But all agreed on one thing. No ship ever returned from Earth's borders. Not one. Scouts that wandered close found only silence and gravity. Fields strong enough to bend thought. And deep in every alien capital. On every council floor, in every training facility across the known stars, there was a line burned into every rulebook, etched in every captain's oath: do not approach Sol. And if a child ever asked why, the elders would not speak. They would only point to the stars and whisper, because we laughed once, Earth answered.